Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. I was in the middle of my work and I didn't plan to film this video right now, but since I'm going to do something very interesting, I figured why not show you. So I am currently working on a very big project, thousands of files, millions lines of code, and I was about to analyze my code. So I know that when I run the analysis, it is going to take 10 to 15 minutes in order to finish. So I thought, why not show you both how I analyze my code, and then in the meantime, while we wait for the analysis to finish, I am going to teach you about operator overloading. The analyzer that I use is called PVS-Studio, and if you're using it to learn, or if you're working on open source projects or on closed projects, you can get it for free using the link in my description. So I'm going to show you now how I use PVS-Studio in order to find bugs and optimize my code. So click the link in the description, download PVS-Studio, and then you will need some code in order to analyze it. So here I have the solution from my work, and it has a lot of code, a lot of different projects. Unfortunately, I cannot show you the code itself because of my non-disclosure agreement, but at the end of the video, I am going to show you the result of the analysis. So once you download PVS-Studio, in order to analyze your code, you will need to click on Extensions and then PVS-Studio. And here I'm going to check, the entire solution. So I want to check everything that my solution has, so I will click that. And the analysis should begin shortly after. So, because this is going to take 10 to 15 minutes, because I have a lot of code to analyze, we are going to leave this in the background. And now I'm going to switch to our empty project. And in the meantime, while we wait, I am going to teach you about operator overloading. So what is operator overloading in C++, and what are operator functions? In C++, we can create a special type of functions which are called operator functions, and we use those operator functions in order to define how a certain operator will behave with a specific data type. So in order to explain this, let me give you the example. If I say, for example, 4 plus 5, here we have this plus operator, but in this situation our compiler already knows how the plus operator behaves when this is number and this is number as well. So in this situation the plus operator will sum these two numbers. But what is going to happen if we have a user-defined data type, let's say for example a structure called car, and if I try to do something like this, if I say car1 plus car2, so what is going to happen in this situation, and how will this plus operator behave? So in this situation, we can create our own overloaded function, which is called operator plus, and inside that function, we can define how it will behave when we try to sum two cars. And that is called operator overloading. Now, a quick tip, if you are not familiar with user-defined data types with classes and structures, I am going to link a video here, and I will also put it in the description, so make sure to watch that video if you need additional help, and then you can come back to this video. So in this video, I am going to show you how you can overload operators that are used most often, and then in the description, I will leave the list of all of the operators that can be overloaded in C++, because there is a lot of operators, but once you see the example that I will show you today, it is going to be very easy to apply it on other operators as well. So let's demonstrate how this works. I am going to delete this code, I don't need it anymore, and let's create a user-defined data type. I want to create a structure called YouTube channel. Again, if you're not familiar with structures, the link will be in the description. Make sure to watch that video first. So let's create a structure. Let's say struct YouTube channel, like this, and let's add two attributes. I will say string name. Also make sure to include string, like this, and then let's add another attribute. Let's say for example int subscribers count, like this. Okay, you can add additional attributes if you want, of course, but these two are going to be enough for me to demonstrate how operator overloading works. Now, another thing is that you can also create a class, but if you decide to create a class, keep in mind that members of a class are private by default, and then members of a structure are public by default. And since I created a structure, these two are public by default, which means that they will be available outside of this structure. So after I have created these two attributes, let's also create a constructor. Again, if you're not familiar with constructors, the link will be in the description. So let's say YouTube channel, and I will pass two parameters. I will say string name and then int subscribers count. Let's copy this name. I will just use lowercase s. So this is my constructor, and inside this constructor I will initialize these two attributes. So I will say that name is equal to my name parameter, and then subscribers count is equal to subscribers count parameter. So after I have created a constructor for this structure, let's create an object of YouTube channel type. So let's create a YouTube channel. I will do it in my main function. I will say YouTube channel, and let's call it YouTube 1 like this. And now I'm going to use this constructor in order to create this object. So I will say YouTube channel, and it receives two parameters. As you can see, the first one is name, and then the second one is subscribers count. So I will pass the name here. I will say CodeBeauty like this, and then subscribers count is, I believe, 75,000. I believe this is my current subscribers count, and if you are not already subscribed, please subscribe to my channel. Let's grow this community and let's learn programming together. So after I have created this object of YouTube channel type, let me ask you a question. And that question is following. If I say, for example, cout, and then I say number 5, what is going to happen in this situation? The answer is pretty easy, and that is that this number 5 will be printed to our console. But what is going to happen if I do something like this? If I say cout YouTube channel 1 like this. So what is going to happen in this situation? Write me in the comment section before you see the answer. So if I try to run my program, we are going to get an error, and that error is following. Here it says no operator, and then this operator here matches these two operands, which means that now our compiler does not know how this operator here, it is called insertion operator, so how the insertion operator should behave with these two operands. And these are two operands. Cout is one operand, and then YouTube channel 1 is second operand. So now our compiler does not know how to print YouTube channel. It does not know how to print user-defined data type. So what we need to do in order to fix this problem is we need to overload this insertion operator in order to be able to work with our YouTube channel data type. So now I'm going to show you how to do that. So let's overload this insertion operator. We already said that operator functions are just like regular functions, but there is one rule when it comes to naming operator functions, and that is that they need to be called operator, and then you specify the operator that you want to overload. So in this situation, our function will be called operator, and then this insertion sign here. So let's create that function. Let's say void and then operator like this, and then you specify the sign of the operator. Okay, now one very important thing is that this insertion operator works with two operands. The first operand is this cout object on the left side, and then the second operand is YouTube channel on the right side. So these two operands, this one here and then this one here, will be passed as parameters to our operator function. So if I hover over my cout object, you will see that it is of type Ostream. So we will need to pass an object of type Ostream as the first parameter. So let's do that. Okay, and let's call it cout. And here I'm using capital letters, so capital cout, just to make the distinction between this object here and then this object here, even though in the background they are the same object. So that is the first argument. And then second argument is this YouTube channel one here. So it is of type YouTube channel. So let's pass that as well. Like this, and let's call it YouTube channel. Okay. One thing that I want you to notice is that here I am passing these two parameters by a reference. And that means that we are going to pass the original. So these two are not going to be copied, but we are rather passing the original objects themselves. Now, we use pass by reference when we have parameters that are not exactly cheap to copy. Now, an example of parameters that are cheap to copy are numbers, for example. But a parameter like a string or a user-defined data type or a list, a vector, are not very cheap to copy. So in that situation, you can pass those by a reference. And that is exactly what I'm doing here. Now, what I want this function here to do is I want it to print the information about my YouTube channel, and I will use this cout object here and then this YouTube channel object that I've passed to my function as well. So let's say cout, keep in mind that I am using this object here instead of this lowercase one. Okay, so I will say cout and then let's say name, and let's write out the name of our YouTube channel. So YouTube channel dot name, like this. Let's add end line. So that is the first thing. And then the second information that our YouTube channel contains is the number of subscribers. So I will say cout. Again, I am using this capital cout. So I will say cout and then subscribers, like this. And let's say YouTube channel and then subscribers count, like this. So with this, we have successfully overloaded this insertion operator. And if I scroll down, you will see that the error that we had here, so the error with our insertion operator not being overloaded, disappeared. So if I try to run my program now, write me in the comments what do you expect to happen. As you can see, we are successfully printing the information about our YouTube channel. So it says name CodeBeauty and then S subscribers 75. So we need to remove one S. Okay, so let's remove this S. And what we have achieved by overloading this insertion operator for our YouTube channel type is that now we can use cout command with a YouTube channel type the same way that we are already used to using it with a number, for example. So that is what I wanted to show you. Now I want to show you something else. And let's create another YouTube channel. So I will duplicate this line of code and I will create a YouTube channel too. And let's call this channel, for example, my second channel. Okay, and let's say that on my second channel I have 80,000 subscribers. And what I want to do is I want to say here, so please print the information about my YouTube channel 1, and then in the same line print the information about my YouTube channel 2. And as you can see, here we are getting the error again. And in order to fix this error, and in order to be able to use this cout command like this, so in order to be able to print multiple objects in the same line, what you need to do is two things. First, here you need to say that instead of returning void, your operator function needs to return Ostream object. So Ostream reference, like this. And then since you are saying that your function will return Ostream object, you need to return that object from your function. So you need to say here, return cout. Oh, like this. And please notice that here I'm using this capital letter C out instead of this lowercase one. So if I run my program again, as you can see, the error has disappeared, and here we have the information about our first channel and then the second channel as well. Now let me show you something else. Since we said that operator functions are just like regular functions, now your question might be, can we invoke this operator function just like a regular function? And the answer to that question is yes. So let me demonstrate how that works. So let's delete this second YouTube channel from here. Now another way to do this same thing here is to say operator and then this insertion operator, and then I will invoke this function here just like I would invoke any other global function. So I will specify its name, and here I will pass parameters. So the first parameter is our cout object, and then the second parameter is our YouTube channel 1. Okay, so let's comment this line of code here, and if I run my program, as you can see, we get the information about our first YouTube channel. So let's close this, and as I said, this is another way that you can use this operator function, but the main reason why we overload operators is to be able to use them like this. So this here is more common way to use operator functions than this approach here. So that is the reason why I'm going to remove this second line. But if your question is, can we do that? The answer is yes, absolutely we can. So this is how we overload the insertion operator. And as you can see, in this situation, we created the operator function globally. But what is going to happen if we want to overload an operator like plus, or minus, or operator greater than, or less than, or is equal to, or not equal to, and so on? Those operators are overloaded differently. So now I'm going to show you how we can do that. So let's collapse this code. You can find it in the pinned comment if you need it. Okay, so what I want to do now is I want to create another structure, another user-defined data type. So let's say struct, and let's call it my collection, like this. And inside this my collection data type, I want to have a list of YouTube channels. So let's say list and YouTube channel. So let's call it my channels, like this. Also make sure to include list here. So I will say include list, like this. So after I created my collection structure, let's do the following. I'm going to remove this line of code, and I will create an object of my collection type. Let's call it my collection, like this. Let's just use capital letter C. Okay, so what I want to be able to do in this situation is I want to say my collection plus equals to YouTube channel 1. So I want to be able to add YouTube channels to my collection by using this operator here. And that is exactly what I want to show you now. So how can we overload this operator here in order to work with this type here and this type here? So the left operand is of type myCollection, which is data type that we created. So in this situation, we can create operator function plus equals as a member function of this structure here. So in that situation, we would need to pass only one parameter, and that is the one on the right side. And then this one is going to be available automatically. So let me show you how that works and how can we overload this operator here. So inside this my collection structure, I will create operator function. I will say void, and let's call the function operator, and then plus equals. This here is the rule. So this is how you name your operator functions. You first say operator, and then you specify the operator that you want to overload. Okay, and then here we are going to pass parameters. In this situation, we need to pass only one parameter, and that is the one on the right side, and as I said, this one is going to be available automatically. So here I will say YouTube channel, and let's call it channel, like this. Okay, so what I want to do in this situation is I want to say the following: this dot my channels. Okay, and please keep in mind that you need to use this symbol here instead of a dot, even though I say dot. So this keyword implies this operand here, so my collection. And you can say this, or you can just say my channels. It will work the same way. I will use this so that you know what is meant by this. It is meant this first operand, so my collection. So please give me my channels from my collection. And what I want to do is I want to say push back. So please add to the list of my channels this channel here, like this. So that is how we overload this plus equals operator, so that when we say my collection plus equals YouTube 1, that means that YouTube 1 will be added to this list of my channels. And the behavior of this operator plus equals is very intuitive, and that is the way that your operator functions should be. They should be very intuitive, because if someone needs to open the definition of your operator function in order to figure out what it is doing, you are probably doing it wrong. So let's explain something that you probably noticed by now, and that is the difference between this operator function here and then this operator function here. So as you can see, first thing is that this operator function is created as member function of this structure here, whereas this operator function is created as a global function. And then second thing is that this function here receives only one parameter, whereas this one here receives two parameters. So why is that the case? Well, in this situation here, where we overloaded operator plus equals, we have created it as a member class, and we passed only one parameter, because the first parameter, so this first operand, will be available automatically like this, because it is a member function. Whereas in this function here, we needed to pass both parameters, so both operands, because the first operand, this cout object, is of type Ostream, and that is a library that is already available for us to use, and it would be very hard and almost impossible to define and overload this operator here for every single data type that we want to use this operator with. So in this situation, we are creating a global function, and we are passing both parameters, so both operands, to that global function. So since we are talking about operator overloading, let's practice operator overloading some more. So let's add to this collection here our second YouTube channel as well. Let's say my collection plus equals to second YouTube channel. Okay, so what I want to be able to do now is the following. I want to be able to say cout my collection, like this. But we will get a problem which says that this insertion operator is not overloaded for my collection object. So it is not overloaded for my collection data type. So let's overload this operator here for this type here as well. So I am going to overload it as a global function, like we did in this situation here. Okay, so here I am going to say Ostream, and then by reference, and then I will call it operator insertion, like this. And since this is a global function, it will need to receive both operands, so both this one and this one. So I will say that the first one is Ostream object, which is called cout. Again, I'm using capital letters here. Okay, and then the second will be my collection object, and it will be called my collection like this. So what I want to do inside this operator function is I want to print all of the elements of my collection. And in order to do that, I will use for each loop. So I will say for. So for each YouTube channel, let's call it YouTube channel, like this. So for each YouTube channel inside my collection dot my channels, what I want to do is I want to print the information about that YouTube channel. So I will say cout YouTube channel and then add end line. And please pay attention that here I am using this parameter, so capital cout instead of lowercase cout. Okay, so after I have printed the information about my YouTube channel, the last thing that we need to do is, since we said that this operator function will return Ostream object, we need to return that object from our function. So I will say return cout, because that is our Ostream object that we need to return. Okay, so what I will be able to do now is this line of code here, so cout my collection. And if I run this program, let's see what is going to happen. Okay, as you can see, here we have the information about our first channel and then the information about our second channel. Perfect. So let's collapse this function here because it is taking too much space. And if you need the code, it will be pinned in the comments, as I already said. So let me show you something else, an interesting situation, actually an error that can happen if you work on this on your own. And the error is extremely hard for most beginners to figure it out on their own. So let's demonstrate that error and let's fix it together. So here I have created my collection and then I have added 2 YouTube channels to that collection and I am printing the information about my collection. So what I want to be able to do is the following. So I want to be able to say my collection minus equals to YouTube channel 2. So I want to be able to remove elements from my collection by using this minus equals operator. So how will we do that? You guessed it correctly, we need to overload this operator here the same way, almost identically as we did here, but the behavior is going to be different, of course. So what I will do is inside this my collection, I will copy this operator plus equals and then paste it below, and I will change the name so that it is minus equals operator. It will as well receive the channel that we want to remove, and the behavior will be the following. So inside this minus equals operator, we want to remove this channel from this list here. So I will say this my channels remove, and then I will pass the channel that I want to be removed like this. Okay, so as you can see, the error has disappeared from here. So what do you expect to happen in this situation if I run my program? Write me that in the comment section before you see my answer. So let's run our program and we get the window, which means that we have errors. So let's see if we can get any help from this errors window here. As you can see, these errors are not very beginner friendly. So it says binary is equal to does not define this operator or a conversion to a type acceptable to the predefined operator. It's actually not clear at all what is happening in this situation and why we are having this error. So let me show you what is happening. Let's move this window so that it does not take space. And notice this remove function. Right-click on it and click Go to Definition. Okay, so here we have the definition of our remove function, and as you can see, that remove function internally is using this is equal to operator in order to compare the elements so that it can remove the right element from the list. So it is very easy if that list contains, for example, numbers. It is very easy to compare if one number is equal to another number. But since we are using the list to store YouTube channels, the question is, how will this function know that one YouTube channel is equal to another YouTube channel? So how will this is equal to operator behave in that situation? So the reason why we are having the error that we are having is because we have not overloaded this is equal to operator for our YouTube channel data type. So in order to fix the error that we have, we need to do that. So let's close this file here, and I will go to my YouTube channel structure, and here I will need to overload is equal to operator. So I will say bool, and then let's call it operator is equal to, okay, and here we are going to pass only one parameter of type YouTube channel. Okay, let's call it channel, and here I will say return this dot name is equal to channel dot name, like this. Now, a better way to implement this is to create an additional attribute inside this YouTube channel struct called ID or identifier, and then to compare the IDs of two YouTube channels instead of comparing the names. But this is going to be enough for demonstration purposes. I'm going to leave that part to you if you want to practice on your own. So that is the first thing. And then the second thing that I want to explain is why is the return type of this operator is equal to bool? The answer is because that is the logical behavior of is equal to operator, because it should return the information if two YouTube channels are equal, so true or false, yes or no. So that is the reason why the return type of this operator function is bool. So after we have implemented this operator is equal to, let's run our program and let's see what is going to happen now. So if I run the program, as you can see, we have the error again. So what is the error this time? So let's see if this window here is of any help. And from what I can read, these errors, these explanations are not helpful at all, at least for beginners. So let's collapse this again. Okay, so what is happening in this situation? In this operator is equal to function, what we need to do is we need to say that this function here will not change its parameters. So we need to basically swear to our compiler that we will not change the parameters that we have received. So in order to do that, you need to make that parameter a constant. So you need to say const YouTube channel and then the name of that parameter. And here I will say that this operator is equal to is a const function, which means that it will not change its parameters by accident, because this function intuitively should not change the values and the parameters. It should just compare them and tell you if they are equal or not. So if I try to run my program again, let's see what is going to happen. And we don't have errors anymore, and our program works as it should. So now we have the information about only one YouTube channel, and the reason for that is because we added two YouTube channels and then we removed one. So here our collection contains only this first YouTube channel. So I will pin this code in the comments in case that you want to use it. And I hope that this video was helpful for you to understand what is operator overloading. If it was, please give it a thumbs up, because that means a lot to me and it is also very important for the YouTube algorithm. One thing that I promised at the beginning of this video is that I am going to show you the results of the analysis of my code for work. So let's check that out. Here I have all of the potential issues and bugs that PVS-Studio has found. And as you can see, I have a lot of things that I need to optimize and fix. And here are three different levels of priority. low, medium, and high, and currently I have 384 potential issues of high priority that I need to fix or optimize. So I have a lot of work waiting for me to do. And if you also want to analyze your code, I am going to leave the link in the description that you can use to download PVS-Studio for free. So I hope that this video was helpful. If it was, please give it a thumbs up and also share it with someone who would like to learn programming. So thank you very much for watching, and I am going to see you in some other video. Bye!